Do you guys remember when we all thought that WrestleMania 31 was gonna suck? Yeah, we were wrong. Hello, beautiful people. Welcome to another edition of WrestleMania Review Series, and this time we are looking at WrestleMania 31. And man, when I tell you that we were not excited for the show, we were not excited for the show. It was kind of like, all right, it's WrestleMania, let's get it over with. But man, the build up was not the best. We were all hoping it was Daniel Bryan versus Brock Lesnar. And sure enough, it wasn't. In hindsight, it does make sense given how injury prone Daniel Bryan has gotten. Taking those crazy bumps, he nearly was concussed and paralyzed if he didn't get the surgery that he needed. We almost didn't even get Daniel Bryan on the show. So there was no way that they were going to move their plans around just because all of a sudden Daniel Bryan was cleared. So it was a very interesting show to say the least because not only was this show really good, it was better than 30, and yet WrestleMania 30 had a good build, but really it was a two-match show with everything else being solid. And then this one had a terrible build, but every match delivered. It was just good match after good match after good match after good match after a phenomenal match to close us off. Even the pre-show matches were good. Check out the tag team match, and the Andre Battle Royal was not that bad. Given a lot of people look at it badly because Big Show won, but I'm like, come on, Big Show had to eventually win one of these. Why not do it when he's one of the top heels of the Authority? But anyways, we do get this show. We kick it off with Aloe Black singing America the Beautiful. The first time we sing America the Beautiful since 28, I believe. And Aloe Black basically became a star after this. I didn't really know who he was up to this point, but then he did Ticking Bomb for Payback 2015. He did a lot of other cool stuff. He did the soundtrack for, I believe, The Wedding Bringer. I believe that's the name of the song. The one with Kevin Hart and Josh Gad. So yeah, I like Aloe Black. He does some pretty good stuff now and then. Anyways, we kick off the night with a 7-man ladder match for the Intercontinental Championship. It was Bad News Barrett, even though he was just Wade Barrett up to this point. Daniel Bryan, Dean Ambrose, Dolph Ziggler, Luke Harper, R-Truth, and some guy named Stardust. I don't know whatever happened to that guy. Anyways, um, this was a good match. It was just your typical run of the mills, like just crazy ladder spot. The story was weird. It was basically Wade Barrett became the IC champion. Dolph Ziggler wanted a rematch. He fought Dean Ambrose at Fastlane. Even though he won by DQ, he claims to be the real champion, so he steals the IC belt. And throughout the weeks, everybody involved in this match is stealing the championship. From Dolph Ziggler to Luke Harper, R-Truth, Stardust, Daniel Bryan. So everybody's stealing the championship. By the time Wade Barrett got it back, Kane goes like, okay, I'm going to need to take that belt so we can put it up for WrestleMania. It was awesome to see that it was Pat Patterson of all people to put the championship up there. The very first Intercontinental Champion. This was your typical balls to the walls crash fest. It was a fun match. You can clearly tell that they miss Money in a Bank at WrestleMania. So this was basically their way of saying like, okay, fine, we don't have the Money in a Bank, we have it separate pay-per-view, so let's give you guys this instead. And I had fun with this match. Crazy spot with Luke Harper doing a powerbomb to Dean Ambrose onto a ladder. I thought Dean Ambrose was gonna win because up to this point, Dean Ambrose hadn't won a pay-per-view match since Payback when they fought Evolution. The Shield did, but up to this point, Dean Ambrose hasn't won a pay-per-view match, so the whole build-up was, I think Dean Ambrose is going to get his moment at WrestleMania, but then Daniel Bryan, who was possibly the most over babyface given last year's WrestleMania, they gave him the victory and making him a Grand Slam champion. And I was hoping that we actually got a full run with Daniel Bryan as the Intercontinental Champion. I was actually hyped to see him win this belt because I'm like, Danny Bryan would do so much good work, and maybe this will be his eventual redemption of like, okay, listen, I did great work with the IC belt. Now give me a shot at the world title again. That's what I was hoping, but unfortunately, Daniel Bryan got injured yet again, not that long after this, and unfortunately, this led to his retirement. But well, not this match. I think it was a match with Sheamus or like a tag team. I don't remember what it was, but also him doing the headbutts didn't help. This was a fun match, but anyways, like I said, happy Daniel Bryan won. Good match. Then we get Randy Orton versus Seth Rollins, and this was the best built match, honestly, because this actually had somewhat of a good story of Seth Rollins being the authority figure now, the new name of the authority, and then Randy Orton was kind of like old new, so this is like old versus new. Randy Orton doesn't care about the new. He wants to just wreak havoc after being screwed over by Seth Rollins and these guys. They're the ones who took him out. Now the only thing that I hated about this story is that Randy Orton comes out at Fastlane and then he all of a sudden is like, I'm just playing. Let's be buddy buddy, and then they team up for a while and then they go, oh, you think I forgot? And it was just so stupid. Like, they should have just had Randy Orton go through everybody from the authority and only to get to Seth Rollins. That's what I would have done with the story. They had J&J Security involved. This was around the last time they have him around. Randy Orton takes him out one by one. One of them even takes an RKO from the top. This was a good wrestle match. This was basically their test for Seth Rollins if he was ready to be a top player. Sure enough, he was. And even though he didn't win, Seth Rollins looked strong. Plus, we got to see the greatest RKO of all time in this match. Seth Rollins does a curve stun. Randy Orton reverses it midair into an RKO, an amazing RKO, the greatest RKO ever delivered. So I can't really get mad. So the fact that Randy won, I was like, yeah, that's about right. Very happy with this match. Go out of your way, watch it. Sting versus Triple H, and it was no DQ. It was last minute no DQ. The buildup was kind of dumb of like Sting being like the last of WCW. I wish they kind of would have gone personal, like, oh, I never wanted to sign with WWE because of XYZ. No, they just basically said like, oh, I wish I was there for the invasion. I'm like, no, nobody was part of the invasion. NWO wasn't part of the invasion. Ric Flair wasn't part of the invasion. Goldberg wasn't part of the invasion. So it's like, you know, I kind of wish they went a different route. But a lot of people are mad that we didn't get Undertaker versus Sting at this show. I don't think it was the right call. I think this was the right call because we weren't sure what kind of Undertaker we were getting yet. So they needed a test for Undertaker before we got to Sting. I think we were supposed to get it at WrestleMania 32. I think that was more fitting to do it, given that it was in Houston, where Undertaker was born. That would have been the perfect time to do Undertaker versus Sting. But the fact that we didn't get it is disappointing. But I do think that they went the right call here, having Sting helping the Authority lose and taking down the Authority. I don't like that they had Sting off TV for a lot of the time. I wish they kept him in TV consistently and had him do more promos, not that dumb fake promo. Man, the build-up was terrible, but this match itself was good. This was started off as a pretty solid regular one-on-one match. Eventually, the weapons came into play, but the best part was when DX comes out. I'm like, why is DX coming out? This makes no sense. And them taking and helping Triple H get the victory, even though he fails to. Triple H pulls out a sledgehammer. I'm like, great, here comes Triple H burying people. Then you hear the NWO theme song, and I marked out. I was like, oh shit, we are going to get the NWO versus DX. That's what they were building up to. And I like that commentary did a good job of being like, hey, wait, who is the NWO teaming up with? Because don't forget, they have their issues with Sting, but they let bygones be bygones to have this awesome moment. I felt bad for Sean, aka X Pac, because I'm like, who is he gonna join? Is he gonna join Six? Is he gonna come in as Six or X Pac? So it was like, but I think they went the right call making him part of DX. He was better as X Pac, anyways. But this was an amazing moment. Although, man, I didn't care how old they were; they looked cool, fighting off everybody. Kevin Nash tears his quad again. This moment, I can't really get mad at it. I had a lot of fun with this. So the only thing that we can all agree was bad was that Triple H won. There was no reason why Triple H had to win. Shawn Michaels comes to Sweet Chin Music. Sting during the Scorpion Deathlock. There was a part where like Sting breaks the Triple H's sledgehammer, and I'm like, oh, this is how he wins. But even the way he won was stupid. Like he hits him with a sledgehammer, 1, 2, 3. Nah, like he should have at least hit him with a pedigree if he was gonna do that. But if Sting won, this would have been way more poetic, and then it would have gotten us even more excited for when we eventually could have gotten Sting versus The Undertaker. WWE did Sting wrong. I'm gonna be honest. I didn't mind him losing to Seth Rollins, but his injury, man, that took a big toll on us, and it made us question if Seth Rollins really was the guy. Man, Sting could have done so much cool stuff, but then again, he is older. They limited him. Thankfully, AEW got him correctly. Then we had Skylar Grey, Kid Ink, and Travis Baker sing the theme songs to WrestleMania. It was Rise and Money in the Power. Fine performance, I guess. Skylar Grey was never good live. I have seen her live before. She is terrible live. Um, yeah, just stick to auto tune. Man, I don't know what is it with Skylar Grey. She just sounds lame live. I don't know what is it about her. Kidding, at least looked excited. It was a fine little concert, I guess, but I was just more focused and caring more about the wrestling. Then we get AJ Lee and Paige versus the Bella Twins, and I thought this match was okay. This was during the whole Give Divas a Chance moment. They had a 6-woman tag team match on Raw the next night, which was better. But this one was okay, and it was just a solid way of showing, like, oh, the Bella Twins are no match for real professional wrestlers like AJ Lee and Paige, the ones who want to make a revolution in the Divas division. Eventually becomes the women's division, but that's not them. That would be the 4 Horsewomen. We'll get to them next year. This was an okay match. Not the weakest match of the show. Maybe the weakest. I'm not sure. It was between this and Bryan Taker, but we'll get to that when we get to it. WWE Hall of Fame class of 2015. We had Arnold Schwarzenegger. I had a feeling they were going to do it given that Terminator had just came out this year. Bushwhackers. Tatsumi Fujinami, who I believe is still wrestling. Larry Zbyszko, Alundra Blaze, Rikishi. This was the debut of the Warrior Award, with the first one being Connor the Crusher Mikalik. Connor the Crusher. That was a very sweet moment that they gave to Connor the Crusher, giving it to his family. Daniel Bryan inducted him. That was very beautiful. Then we had the most controversial thing in Hall of Fame history, where the Macho Man, who we've been dying to have on the show, Macho Man Randy Savage, who we've been dying to have on the Macho Man Randy Savage, who we've been waiting for to be in the Hall of Fame, never got to give his speech. Unfortunately, his passing happened. But he was well deserved. People were like begging for Macho Man to finally be in the Hall of Fame. He finally is. Hogan had a really awkward conversation with the fans, like, oh, he was my friend, he was my friend, he was my friend. Then we eventually had Macho Man's brother come out and give a solid speech. But he didn't close. It was Kevin Nash. And I remembered, if you remember my days as the Double X Prince, I got a lot of heat for it. Respectfully so. It was like, okay, fine. Somebody else had to close out. It would be very awkward for Hogan to be like, oh, he's my friend, and you know what happened. But other than that, this was a solid class. I really appreciated it. My favorite speech was Alundra Blaze, her pulling out the championship, getting real serious, the first Paul Heyman girl. I was really happy with this class. I can't really fault it. Yeah, pretty good class. On to the United States Championship match, which was Rusev versus John Cena. Up to this point, Rusev had beaten John Cena clean, so it was like, oh, wow, they're actually giving Rusev a chance, and that Fastlane match was pretty good. So the fact that we get another match at WrestleMania was like, okay, we get another one, and maybe this is how John Cena redeems himself. And this feud was kind of dumb in the sense of like the face of America being John Cena, which is poetic because John Cena is just so like this. He's practically Captain America in jorts. But anyways, up to this point, Rusev was on a tear. He kind of reminded me of Umaga before he lost the streak, ironically, to John Cena as well. But Rusev was over. He got over just squashing people, then eventually getting the title. He had a great feud with Jack Swagger, of all people. Who can say that? But this run of Rusev was hands down his best run. Him winning the U.S. belt and carrying it for a while. And I just thoroughly enjoyed what he was able to do in this match, and on other matches. The whole Rusev coming out in a tank was badass. I didn't even talk about Sting's and Triple H's entrance, the Terminator, and then the drums. Those were some good entrances as well, but my favorite, hands down, was the Rusev on a tank with all the Russian soldiers, Lana holding the U.S. belt. This was just great. This was super cool for Rusev coming out like that. And then John Cena just has a regular entrance. I'm shocked he didn't come with like American flags and the National Guard. I'm shocked he didn't do that. He just came in a regular entrance. This was a fine match. Not as good as their Fastlane match. Definitely better than their Extreme Rules match with the Russian chain match. That was sad and embarrassing. The I Quit match was good. A lot of people hate it, but I enjoyed it. But this was a pretty good match. This was the debut of the Springboard Stunner, which everybody hated, because it didn't put anybody over, especially Steve Austin. He hated that move, respectfully so. I did wish that that was what took down Rusev, because then that tells you, oh, we have a new move, and John Cena's going to use it to beat people. But the whole Springboard Stunner was just like a side move, not the main move. Anyways, this doesn't take away from how good this match was. I really enjoyed it. These guys gave us a good match and had a good story. And John Cena won. And at the time, it was like, oh, great. Here we go. John Cena burying another person. But this led to the best run of John Cena's career, the U.S. Open Challenge. He took on guys like Dean Ambrose, some guy named Stardust. He took on Neville, Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens. He had amazing matches with all those guys, and eventually led to his match with Seth Rollins. It is unfortunate that he lost it to Del Rio at the end, but this doesn't take away from how awesome John Cena was in 2015, and this was the beginning of it. Like him or hate him, you can all agree that John Cena holding that U.S. belt up to this point was the best thing to happen to him. Then we had Stephanie McMahon and Triple H give you the attendance record, only for them to talk smack about the crowd, how they are the reasons why people came. Then Triple H talks smack about Sting, which was dumb, because it was like they shake hands only for Triple H to just say no, screw Sting. It was dumb. But then this moment got saved by The Rock. He comes out, has a little moment talking to Triple H and Stephanie. He's like, okay, you can go back out there and dress like Terminator, or you can shut your mouth and let me talk, and something like that. Stephanie slaps The Rock. At the time, he would have rock bottomed her, but this was a different time, unfortunately. And then he goes, all right, I'm not going to beat you up, but I know someone who will. And then you had Ronda Rousey there. You actually had Marina Shafir, Shayna Baszler, and Jessamine Duke, I believe was the other one. Ronda Rousey comes out into the ring, talks to Stephanie like, hey, whatever ring I'm in, it's my ring. And then she threatens to break Stephanie's arm, but she just does a flip on her. We all thought this match we were going to get next year, but we don't. We wait until years later. But anyways, it was a cool moment to have Ronda and Stephanie begin their feud, even though it took years to actually get a match out of it. But I was fine with this little moment. I do wish that this was the spot where we had the tag team title match, if I'm being quite honest. Then we get The Undertaker versus Bray Wyatt. Now, something tells me that the reason why they had the Rock segment was so we can make it dark enough so we can have the Undertaker and Bray Wyatt come out the way they did. This whole show, this took place in California. The times are a lot different here. The show was very bright outside for most of it, so it kind of sucked for most of the show where the fans are just doing this for a good chunk of the show. But anyways, this match happened. It was a little slow, so it wasn't like that match that we were anticipating, that we dreamed in our heads. It was okay. I enjoyed it for what it was, and I didn't mind Undertaker winning. If this was during the streak, then this would have been the perfect time to have Bray Wyatt beat the streak. I was okay with this match just because it was just so we can get us ready for Undertaker to continue his run and have other good stuff. I do always believe that Bray Wyatt got the bat end of the stick, but hey, he got to fight The Undertaker at WrestleMania. So I can't really say it was a L for Bray Wyatt. They were willing to trust him to do this, and something tells me that The Undertaker was the one that said, let me fight Bray Wyatt. Make him look strong enough so then I could fight him. And it's pretty cool. Undertaker got to fight his father, his uncle, and now he's getting to fight Bray Wyatt. That is so cool. Undertaker did a lot. And up to this point, his WrestleMania matches lost a lot of edge because the streak was over. But he did what he could with what he was given. Unfortunately, this does lead to like some terrible matches from The Undertaker outside of WrestleMania. He does have another match with Bray Wyatt and Luke Harper when they formed the Brothers of Destruction at Survivor Series, which was not good. And then he does have some awesome matches with Brock Lesnar during the story of the summer. That was some good wrestling there. So, anyways, this was a good match. I do like the counters where like Bray Wyatt does the pose, where he does the headstand like the Exorcist, and then Undertaker stands up. The stare down was awesome. Okay match. It was a little bit slow, but it was okay for what it was. I can't really hate it too much. Then it's time for your main event. Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. And this was just a squash, an amazing squash. Basically, the whole story is Roman Reigns wins the Rumble, saying that he's ready. We would have been more invested if up to this point Roman Reigns was billed as a single star. Unfortunately, he was taken out of to the hospital. I think he got like a disease or something. He wasn't doing good, so he was taken out for the rest of the year. So we didn't even get to experience what Roman Reigns could have been like as a single star. We tried. We put him in that multi-man ladder match for the world title while Dean Ambrose and Seth did their thing. We put him in the main event of Battleground. We put him against Randy Orton. It was like there was a lot that they tried with Roman Reigns, but we just didn't buy it because they tried to make him this underdog, yet he was a descent of the Samoan dynasty, the Anoa'i family. So no one really saw him as someone who was going to lose necessarily. He was related to The Rock, so everybody was like, okay, they're just going to push this guy to the moon. They're already making him the next John Cena. It's not going to work. And sure enough, it didn't, because they booed him. They cheered Brock Lesnar. This was the beginning of Suplex City, bitch. They did a lot of cool moments where basically it was just Roman Reigns getting squashed. He gets beat up for most of it. I don't think Daniel Bryan and Brock Lesnar would have made this work as good as they did. It's kind of crazy. I feel like if it was Brock and Bryan, this would have been like an even one-on-one match with Daniel Bryan winning and Seth maybe cashing in this night. There was a part where Roman Reigns busted Brock Lesnar open. He gets his moves of doom, and I was like, oh, great. This is how Roman Reigns wins after getting squashed for most of it. It was like, oh, no, this better not happen. Then Brock Lesnar hits a third F5, and then he kicks out. So Roman Reigns kicked out of 3 F5s, but Undertaker couldn't. Anyways, then we had the greatest thing to have happened for this WrestleMania. This turned into a triple threat match when Seth Rollins comes out, runs as fast as he can, cashes in the middle of the match. No one's ever done that up to this point. So this was a triple threat match. Pushes Roman to the side. He hits a curve stomp to Brock Lesnar. Kicks out. Does another curve stomp, but Brock reverses it into the F5. But before he hits the F5, Roman Reigns comes back with a spear. After getting beat up all this time, Seth Rollins then gives Roman the curve stomp. 1, 2, 3. Seth Rollins is your new WWE champion, the greatest cash in of all time, and the fans leave happy. Now, I hear that Seth Rollins thought of doing the heist of the century. If Brock wins, people leave upset. If Roman wins, people leave upset. So plan C was Seth Rollins cashing in, and then the fans leave happy this way. And plus, this basically told you that there's no winners, so eventually we were going to get Brock and Roman again. We didn't know we were going to get it 100 more times, but we were not finished with this feud, and we were just only beginning. And plus, we get to see Seth Rollins, the guy who basically carried 2014, have his moment. And the best part, he already lost to Randy Orton, so that was already a feud that we could have continued. There was a lot of cool stuff you did with Seth Rollins this year, so I can't really get mad about it. This was an amazing, memorable show. Every match is delivered. Even the worst match was okay. So with that, I'm gonna give this show an A. Not quite an A plus, because I think we had a lot of moments. We had a concert. We could have had the tag team titles. We could have had the Andre Battle Royal. Also, some of the results were dumb. Triple H winning? Come on, give me a break. Go out of your way and watch this show. It's one of the best WrestleManias I've ever seen. And up to this point, we don't get a great WrestleMania for a while. So wish me luck, because up to this point, we're going to get onto the 5-hour WrestleManias. So wish me luck. Anyways, take care, everybody.